Hi babe, welcome. So I am late on the Can't Feedin tutorial, but here I am. We are going to do it together and you will see what to expect. This is the style we came up with. I used a bright colored hair extension and a dark colored hair extension just to point out something to you guys. And I also included just a quick shortcut of stitching for people who can, if you can't stitch and you can't feed in, then this video is like perfect for you. But I didn't explain this part. I will do that in another video, but for now you can just quickly see how I pre-section the hair before stitching it. But we're just going to run through that quickly so that we'll get to where to the reason why we are here, guys. You know how it is when you see something online and then when you're trying it, you just run into some challenges that you didn't see in the videos. That's what this video is going to be about. We are going to do it together, then I'll tell you. You just get to see some of the problems or challenges in the different options and what to do about them. So once I was done with pre-sectioning my stitch, pre-stitching the hair, I am going to proceed and cornrow. So if you're just here for the cornrow and then the method, here we go. So you have to cornrow your hair. If you're not stitching it, fine. If you're stitching it, fine. So I'm just going to do this until I get to the end and then we will feed in the hair extension. So at this point it is braided all the way to the back, as you can see, all the way to the tail, to the end of the braid, and then it's time to start feeding in the hair. Of course, I start with smaller pieces. Like the hair extension you feed will just be like you're braiding feeding cornrow. So you start with smaller pieces and then you proceed back. Okay guys, now down to the T. When using the white hair extensions, right, I noticed, so anyway, some things you should put into consideration is that this hair is going to look like you are braiding a cornrow on top of a cornrow. So the smaller the cornrow under, and like the portion, sorry, the ratio of the cornrow on top of the one under matters. If someone has thick hair and you feed in and you make a medium-sized hair, let's say you braid the person's natural hair and the person has thick hair, you cannot get away with braiding another not too large cornrow on top. This is literally cornrow on top cornrow. That's why most videos that you've seen, I'm just telling you this so that when you start yours, you're not going to like have to take it down and redo it or run into any challenges. So consider the ratio of the person's natural hair to the size of the braid you're making. Let's say someone has very thick natural hair and you braid her hair into four all back, four cornrows going back, and her hair is already as thick as, let me say, the braid, my braid showing. When I move forward a little bit, like the thicker part of my braid showing, right? And then you want to make that size of braid on top of her braid, it is not going to look nice. All the tutorials you've seen, that is something they put into consideration that you don't know. So something else, right? When you're adding this hair extension, you can see spaces from what I am doing. I had to go back and feel like when I started braiding it, I now felt like no, this wasn't, the ratio wasn't big enough compared to how thick her hair is. So after what you're seeing here, I had to go back and feed in more hair extension. I would advise that instead of feeding too small, right, feed in too much. Like feed in every step, every single, you know, like when you're braiding, you would usually feed in the hair extension after every circle. So you can see the circle, like each circle of cornrow, each row of cornrow, each, no, not row, like each plate of cornrow, right? You see how I was skipping? If you look closely, I wasn't, especially you can see space, don't leave any space. I had to go back and fill that up. And also it is better for you to have too much hair extension when you're braiding and you feel like the braid is getting too thick. You just pull it off. it is very easy. Just slide it out of the braid and continue braiding. Then you can regulate where you want the braid to be left in, the hair extension to be left in. So I added the hair piece all the way to the down. I think I actually saw someone that even fed it to like the tail of the person's natural hair, like the dangling braid part of the person's natural hair. So guys, I started braiding. I had already braided, loosed it, that's why you can see it scattered. Then I went back, added more hair because the braid was looking exactly the size of her natural hair lying down there. It was looking exactly the size of her natural hair. And remember, if you were to be braiding the person's natural hair and the hair extension, you're having one braid that is bigger because the bulk of the person's hair is adding to the size of the braid you're making, right? But now we already have the volume her natural hair is supposed to provide has already been placed as a foundation. So this hair, the braid was looking too small. I had to go back and add more hair extension. Is it safe to say this hair might consume more hair extension? Maybe just a little bit more. And then I started like braiding her hair. So the difference I noticed from the color of hair extension I used white so that I can, like, you can see everything I mean, right? If you look on the side, if the braid is not very much bigger, like up to 3 times bigger than the size of the person's hair, you'll be able to see the sides the sides of the cornrow showing. So if you look really close, you can see where I am adding the hair extension from the place I have already finished braiding. If somebody is up in your nose, the person can just see the difference, right? So this is just something to consider when choosing the color of hair you would use. If it's going to bother you, just be safer and use a color that is closer to the person's natural hair. So when I used the red one, it wasn't like that. And consider the consider the density of the person's natural hair. So if it's someone who has light hair, just imagine someone that has light hair is going to enjoy this hairstyle more than someone that naturally has thick hair. So the hair might not come out as perfect as it would on someone who has light hair and wants like medium braids. So let's turn over to the back. From here you cannot, okay, look at from the side, you see how it's a little bit obvious, and I know this will bother some people. So that is one thing you might not see from the different angles of the braids. Guys, you can actually push that braid, like when this braid starts getting old, it will start looking like 2 braids. Like if you can use your hand and like fumble with the braid on top. Pulling it is going to make it to start separating from the natural hair braid under. Do you understand? From the person's natural hair under. Let's do the second one. I hope you're getting all the points. I'm just trying to let you know what you might run into that you won't know you will run into, so that you can be very much prepared. If I make this hair the next time, putting into consideration like this experience, I can tell my clients, like when I look at their hair, I can know advice on the color, I can advise on the size of the braids and all those good stuffs. So starting off again, this is the second time, so I was more prepared. You can see I am adding the hair really close. I learned from the first one. So, and this time around I actually had to slide out some of the hair pieces, like 3 or so at the back, because the size of the braid was getting just enough. And you can see the difference. When I start braiding, you'll see that the difference from her natural hair wasn't much, but I wanted to make like the variation between both of them very obvious. So I tried some white pieces on this particular braid again, because I like looking for trouble, just to make my point very obvious. So I just added a few white pieces, and you will see them standing out like you'll see them standing out when we are done. But now we are going to braid. You have 2 pieces at the front. The very first one, So you would pinch like a little from the left hand one and a little from the right hand one to have 3 strands, and then you start cornrowing. And each step you pick one and braid, and you pick one and braid. Guys, sincerely, this thing felt at the point, it felt almost not like fun for me. If you're someone that can feed in effortlessly, at a point it will be as if you're braiding and the hair is not moving. I don't know, it felt like just picking the hair from the left and picking from the right and picking from every step you're picking. I don't know why it felt more like a tax compared to when you are literally like adding the hair extension. It doesn't make sense, but sincerely, that was how it felt. I felt like I was braiding and it wasn't moving. Look closely, you can see her natural hair under. If I didn't want you to see it, I know where to place this camera. I know how to push that hair down, and you will not see. Ah, look at the white one, guys. Look at the white one. Can you see? Although my hand has pushed that hair a little bit. As I was telling you, you can actually like adjust the braid on top. So let's say you finish braiding it and one side is looking more like you can see underneath the braid so much from one side, you can just shift it to the middle. You didn't know it was possible. You're braiding a braid on top of a braid. Can you see from this angle? You not see anything. Oh, you can still see. So I didn't want the braid to be big because I didn't want it to climb on any of the hats behind. So be ready to use more hair extension. Did you see the tutorial Yvonne Melda made with this hairstyle? Her own, but she used like a teal colored hair extension, and the braid was huge. Like the braid was huge. It swallowed up the one underneath her hair, like underneath the braid. You cannot see it from any angle. So see, if you have a client that is going to just annoy you, right, or complain, use plenty hair extension, make the braid bigger. I didn't want the braid big because I don't want anything to cover any of these hats. You understand? If you don't, if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, leave it. So use bigger hair. This one is slightly bigger than the white one, so you can see it gave a little bit more coverage. Like this ratio is fairer compared to the other one, considering the size of my model's natural hair. Her hair is natural. If her hair were to be relaxed, this one is like the braid underneath is going to be smaller. So you see, if you're doing this on natural hair too, you have things to consider. If you're doing it on relaxed hair, light hair, you have just, I hope you get the tea. And when you do your own, like anytime you come across any of these challenges I just mentioned, you'll be like, oh, this is what she meant, and then you get it right. That's what I am here for. I try it out and tell you as it is, so that when you do your own, babe, it is going to be easy breezy, and then you can leave a thumbs up or share this video with someone. If you're interested in any other details on this hair, I am going to make a tutorial explaining how to pre-section your stitch braid. If stitch braid has just decided to be a nuisance in your life like me, I just never tend to get it right without nails or using comb every step because I am not that patient. So thanks for watching, babe. Bye.